All right, so you want a really large capacity power bank? Well, here you go. But when it comes to power banks, this thing is like the Brontosaurus, the blue whale, the ocean liner, the sequoia tree, the pyramid of Giza, the Jupiter, the sumo wrestler, Jolly Green Giant, Shrek, the Death Star, the Christ the Redeemer statue. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to get at. This thing is huge. All right, welcome back to the Bluetti large capacity power bank series. I have no idea what I want to call this thing. In the first video, we discussed the Elite 200 V2, which is the newest power bank that Bluetti is releasing. But in this video, we're going to talk about this guy, the AC200L. This is a somewhat older model. However, before you just disregard it, there are features in this one that I know is going to be useful to many people that the Elite 200 V2 does not have. In this video, we're also going to be talking about this guy. This is the Bluetti Charger 1. I feel like this might just be a game changer when needing to recharge your power banks back up in the vehicle without using the standard 12-volt socket. Definitely lots to go over with in this video, so let me not waste any more time and let's just jump right into it. So let's start with the power bank, and I'm standing as close to it as I can for scale so you can see the comparison between me and this power bank, and clearly this thing is it's a behemoth of a power bank. Again, same design as your standard Bluetti power banks. It's that squarish shape, which makes it really easy to pretty much pack anywhere because there's no handles that are sticking out. There's no awkward shape. I'm gonna venture a guess, and I'm assuming you know which of those weirdly shaped power banks I'm talking about. Plus, on top of that, Bluetti has those built-in handles. These things can get really heavy, and you want a handle that's built into your power bank so that it's stable and there's no kind of handle that's gonna pop off by accident. Ask me how I know that can happen. Your ports are pretty much laid out the exact same way as past Bluetti power banks, with just a couple of minor differences. First of all, there are no inputs on the front. Like to charge this thing back up, it's all on the side. Everything here is out. All of your outputs. Power button is no longer in the middle. It's actually right here on top. Big button. It'll light up so you know that it's on. Standard display right now, you'll see that it's at 56%, and at this rate I have 99.9 hours left on this battery, but that's because nothing is being charged up at the moment. Now over on the left are your DC outputs. The one on top is your standard 12 volt 10 amp socket, but the one below that is something that I haven't seen on any of my power banks before, and it's new to me, and this is your 43 volt 8 amp DC port. Now in the middle, these three buttons, in my past power banks, you'll see DC over here, AC over here, and the power button here. But it looks like you have your DC, which would be these. So if you turn that on, that'll engage these ones here. And then you have your AC, which will engage these. But then in the middle, you have USB, which engages these. So you actually have three different zones. Speaking of USB, you get two USB-Cs at 100 watts each. Thanks for that, because USB-C is pretty much standard now. But if you still have devices that use USB-A, then you get two of them over here, and these are 18 watts. Then moving over to the right, you have your AC outputs, and you get four AC ports combined, 120 volts, 2400 watts. But over here, this is something that I know exists in other power banks, but I've never had it in any of my power banks before, and that is your 30 amp 125 volt outlet. This is actually really helpful for all of you who own RVs and need this 30 amp kind of plug. There you go. Over on this side, this is where all of your inputs are. So to charge this thing back up, everything is over here. Now up at the top is your DC input. This one is a two-prong type of connector and will run from 12 volts all the way up to 145 volts. At the bottom is your AC input, so if you're charging this back up with a wall socket at home, this does have a 3-pin connector type of deal, so I can't use any existing Bluetti charging cables that I have here at home. I have to use the one that specifically came with this power bank. I promise, after this video, I'm gonna go label all of my Bluetti charging cables, because is starting to get a little ridiculous. Now next to that, you have your grounding port for all of you who like to ground your power banks. You also have your circuit protector here. And then above that, you have your battery extender port. So if you own any of Bluetti's battery extenders, you can plug it into that and get even higher capacity. Now, did you notice something that makes this different than any of the other Bluetti power banks I've reviewed before? Well, this one has covers everywhere, and that's because this is meant to be weather resistant. Not weatherproof. I don't want some idiot dunking this into the lake and expecting it to still work, but some of you do drive pickup trucks that may not have a camper on it, and you like to store all of your gear in the bed of your truck, and that's usually susceptible to dust and rain and other weather elements. Well, you can now keep this back there and it will be protected from those elements. You don't have to keep this in the rear seat of your cabin anymore. So if you've been looking for a power bank that could withstand those things, that you can keep it outside without having to cover it or protect it with something else, well, boom. This is a 2400 watt power bank with 2048 watt hours. This is a lithium iron phosphate battery, much safer, much more efficient. The weight is 62.4 pounds. Dude, that's like half my dimensions. Is about 16.5 inches going this way, 14.4 inches going this way, and about 11 inches going that way. This has eco mode, which basically allows this to not charge up so much so it can conserve battery, but it also has power lifting mode. Directly out of the Bluetti manual, the power lifting mode is specifically designed to handle resistive loads up to 3,600 watts, including electric blankets, kettles, hair dryers, and other heating devices. If what you're trying to power up just needs a little bit more, power lifting mode kind of comes in and helps boost it a bit so that you can charge those things up. There's 3 different recharging modes. You have standard, you have turbo, and you have silent. On standard mode, that's going to be the most friendly to the battery, and that will give you 1,200 watts max on AC, 1,200 watts max on PV, and 1,200 watts max AC plus PV. Now the turbo mode, that's good if you need to recharge this thing back up pretty quickly, and that on AC you get 2,400 watts max, but on PV you get 1,200 watts max, and AC plus PV it's 2,400 watts max. Now the silent mode, that's going to give you the more quieter operation at a lower power, but also helps extend the life of the battery. And in AC mode you get 800 watts max, PV mode you get 800 watts max, and in AC plus PV that's 800 watts max. Alright, so outside of the battery, what are you going to get? Well, you're going to get your documentation right here, and then instead of a box they give you a little bag that has all of your chargers in it. That's your grounding screw in case you want to ground the unit. You have your solar, and then you have your 12-volt socket for the vehicle. And then this cable here, this is your DC cable. It's that 2-prong connector, goes to this top one right here, but it's open-ended because you would choose whether you want to plug your solar or your 12-volt socket for the vehicle on it. When you switch to solar, you can unplug that and plug this in. But this stays locked on in there. And then finally you have your AC plug. This one is that 3-pin connector, and that goes down here. But yeah, that's why I need to label these things. All right, up next is the Bluetti Charger 1, and I'm kind of excited about this thing. I didn't even know it existed until they hit me up asking if I want to try it out. And the reason why I'm excited about this is because this is gonna sort of kind of give you a dual battery-ish kind of setup. Now I use that term loosely because a true dual battery setup, like the one I have in a Jeep, you basically have a secondary battery installed in your vehicle along with a whole system built around it. So any kind of accessory you might have, like fridges, camp lights, anything that's hardwired to your vehicle for camp purposes, can be plugged right into that dual battery setup, and you're not basically killing your starter battery and then you wake up the next day and your vehicle won't start. Well, this is kind of the same concept, except that instead of plugging it up, like hardwiring things to it, you're using this to charge up your power bank at a much faster rate. As many of you know, trying to recharge a power bank using just that 12-volt socket in the vehicle takes a really long time, and many of us are not driving around for that long for that power bank to get back to 100%. I mean, it's faster if you were to just go to a coffee shop somewhere, plug it up with the AC and get that thing charged back up, because it'll take, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes. Well, this should help with that, because this is supposed to give more power to your power bank and get it charged back up much faster, while also keeping your starter battery and that power bank much safer. This is going to be perfect for the 4Runner. I've never had plans to do a dual battery setup in the 4Runner, so having something like this to charge up a larger capacity power bank in the 4Runner might just be the trick. Some of you may not want a dual battery setup in your rig, but you do want to get your power banks charged up much faster, and this just might be it. All right, so what are you going to get? Well, obviously you're going to get the unit itself, and then you're also going to get an MC4 connector. This doesn't just charge up Bluetti power banks, it can charge up any power bank that you have that has an MC4 connector. Most power banks usually come with an MC4 connector. These are the ones that you would use to plug into a solar panel. So if you have a connector like this for your existing power bank, then you can plug that directly into this and get that power bank charged up with the Charger 1. You're also going to get your documentation, and then you're going to get a baggie of connectors here to plug this thing up to your starter battery. You're also going to need to get the harness. It's basically a harness that will go from your existing starter battery to the Charger 1. It's a thick enough gauge wire, and then you'll see that on the positive end you're going to get the circuit breaker, so that if this thing trips, it'll trip that for you. Now, can you build out one of these yourself? I'm sure you can. It's not that hard. I mean, it's just positive and negative 6 gauge wire, and then you can put your own kind of circuit breaker to it. But I'm just going to trust the one that Bluetti has, because I'm sure they've done their testing to make sure that this is the right gauge and this is the right sized kind of circuit breaker. And then you're also going to get a baggie of mount, so that you can mount this circuit breaker as close to the charging battery as possible to prevent any shorts. The Charger 1 is compatible with Bluetti portable power stations that come with an XT60, DC7909, or aviation port. There's also a list of the different models that this thing is compatible with. But again, I'm going to do a fully detailed install video on this. This video is not like the right place for that, but just stick around, because in a few weeks or so I do want to get this installed in the 4Runner. And there you go, the Bluetti AC200L and the Bluetti Charger 1. Again, lots of features in the AC200L that you're not going to get in the Elite 200. We're going to do a comparison between this and the Elite 200 V2 in the last video in this series, so make sure you stick around for that. However, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you don't smash, weatherproof that like button, subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell so we can let you be aware of new videos when they come out, and if it moves you, support us on Patreon. It gives you access to all of our videos before everyone else, and gives you access to our live streams when we do them. And as always, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at BeastofBurden4601. My name is Asia Sampson, and I will see you next time.